Whirlwind Plus got even better. Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Play Whirlwind Events and Drawings, and you'll already see how great Whirlwind Plus is. And now you can play Monday through Thursday up until September 1st and give your great Whirlwind Plus rate to your entire foursome. That means if the highest price tee time that day is $89 and the lowest price is $59, all members of your foursome only pay the $59 rate. Go to whirlwindgolf.com and let your whole foursome feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Forming offense.
Forming offense.
4 minutes.
Forming offense. Forming offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Phoenix. Diamondbacks take 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati, crushing the Reds 9-0 on Friday behind Erod going 5 2/3 of an inning without giving up an earned run. Perdomo and Lawler each went 3 for 5 with Jordan having 3 RBIs. Saturday, Reds beat up on the D-backs 11-5. Soroka 3 1/3, gave up 6 earned runs, then went on the injured list. And yesterday, D-backs down 3-0, came back to win 5-3. Manager Torey Lovello.
Massive win. Big hits for Vargas, and Tawa had a couple of hits. Corbin with a double, triple. It's amazing what this player can do. So onward. We got to enjoy the night and come back in here tomorrow and be ready for a very good Cup team.
Through all of the Marte mess, the Diamondbacks have only lost 1 game in the standings. They now sit 2 games back of San Diego for the final wild card spot. Diamondbacks are 6 games back of the Cubs for the top spot in the wild card, and that's who's coming to town. Kevin Gossman goes for Chicago tonight. He's 6-11 with a 4.58 ERA. Merrill Kelly for the D-backs, who's 8-11 with a 5.37 ERA. Kelly will throw the first pitch downtown, 6:40. Cardinals will lose their 34-13 over the weekend to the Cowboys and looked bad doing it. Major culprit was penalties. Dallas only had 4 of them. The Cardinals had 8 for 63 yards, including 2 penalties that took touchdowns off the board. Head coach Mike LaFleur, how do you look health-wise coming out of the game?
Injuries. Blake Gilligan ended up having a groin. He'll get an MRI tomorrow. Rabbit with ribs. Xavier Weaver with a hammy. Keitrell Clark ended up having a hit. Wydett Williams and Kalen King both getting evaluated for concussions.
Brissett and Beck did not play. Minshew looked decent, 19-23 for 177 yards. Up next, Cardinals have joint practices in Wisconsin. Then they'll take on the Packers in their final preseason game Friday night at Lambeau. Rising had a clutch week with 2 games in 4 days. They beat Colorado Springs 3-1 at home, then got 2 goals from Sacco in the second half to come back and earn the draw with Sacramento Republic 2-2. Up next, the 10th place Rising are 3 points back of a playoff spot. They take on Indiana Saturday night at home. Mercury had all week to prepare for Atlanta. They'd never heard of a player, Angel Reese, because she went for 31 points, 14 rebounds. Mercury had twice as many turnovers. They lost 99-89. Up next, the Merc take on the Mystics at home tomorrow night. ASU football scrimmaged on Saturday. Head coach Kenny Dillingham, what's the latest on the quarterback situation?
Jake had some really nice plays out there tonight. Mikey had 2 touchdown passes. That was a positive. Those 2 guys I thought played well. Gutter, we had a few sacks. Somebody made a great play on interception by him, but a couple of those sacks he can't control, and those sacks ruin your down and distance.
Up next, ASU takes on Morgan State a week from Saturday. Some great hockey news and some terrible hockey news. Good news, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly of the NHL says Houston's going to get team number 33, but the league is in constant communication with both Atlanta and Phoenix for possibly expansion for team number 34 in the league. Tragic news, ASU has not publicized the player, but a hockey player for the school was hospitalized after a heat-related illness suffered during a team workout. PGA Tour Wyndham Clark managed to shoot 17 under despite a final round 70 to win the BMW Championship. Up next, the Tour Championship in Atlanta. LPGA, Miyu Yamashita shot 23 under to win the CPKC Women's Open in Edmonton. Up next for the ladies, FM Championship in Boston. And finally, so you're excited buying a new home. You go inside your new home to clean it out because it was a foreclosure and you don't know what the previous owner had left in it. And then you find the previous owner. Ugh. Steve Bartusek owned the home. The reason why he hadn't made any payments on it was because he was dead. The company that owned the deed on the house had started the foreclosure procedures in 2023. A new couple bought the house, and when they went in through the home for the first time, they found Bartusek in his bed. Police don't suspect any foul play, and the death investigator of Stark County says they're not even sure when the man died. Honestly, I don't really know why I chose this story. This creeps me out.
The reason why I always say that Bell's is not your typical country bar with mediocre bar food is because our kitchen is truly a scratch kitchen. From every single sauce that we make, to every dish, to the beef that we have come in, to the seafood that we have brought in each day, every single dish is handcrafted. We don't have microwaves, so you're tasting that quality the minute that it hits the table.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
The most trusted service department gave their opinions of Slice House by Tony Gemignani.
My name's Kerry Lee. I'm on back counter parts at Santan Ford. The Sicilian style is good because, it has the mix of hot honey, which is what I like. It has a contrast between the sausages, the pepperoni, and at Slice House, I've had, including this one I'm eating right now, about 4 different ones, and they've all been good. My favorite one is the Wise Guy.
Slice House is in Gilbert at Pecos and Val Vista, near Santan Ford. Hey, respect the craft.
Okay, how do I work this thing? What does this button do? Oh, there we go. There we go. Hi! Good to be back from Ohio. I actually enjoyed myself in Ohio as much as you can enjoy yourself at a funeral, of course, but I had plenty of beer, so I'm happy now. We're back at it. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and my knees hurt, and I showed up for work anyway. And you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, U of A, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm doing really good. Still a little mad at my little brother. My little brother was also a pallbearer with me, and he was at the head of the casket, and somebody invented steps going into the church. So and of course I'm in the back, so I'm lifting up Aunt Pat higher than anybody else had to lift on the way into Mass. And then on the way out of Mass, you got to keep the casket low so you're not lifting it over everybody else's head. And my brother is at the front of the casket, and he just takes off. He's like literally pulling us down the steps. Totally scared me to death, totally freaked me out. And then when we get to the steps, I said, Aaron, you just want to make a run for it? And then, of course, after I said that, then he starts walking very slowly towards the hearse as if I was rushing everything. It was just, but that's my family. That's my family. We laughed as much as we could. Very painful and very joyous all at the same time. I had a great week. I learned, it was crazy. I learned a lot of things from my first cousin once removed, if you care about the cousins chart. But my cousin's kid, Kelsey, told me amazing stories about both my grandfather and my godfather that I didn't know, which were absolutely fascinating. Both stories about the two men, my grandfather in World War II and my godfather near the end of World War II. And that was really special. It was cool that she knew these stories and I got to hear them for the first time. And you'd think that's weird because I would imagine my cousin is probably about 25 23, 24 years old, maybe 25 years old. I'll guess about 23. So to be hearing these stories for the first time when I'm 30 years older than she was, that was a shock, but it was a beautiful shock. And then I was able to make it to the Moeller Brew House, which is owned by my third cousins. It is my grandmother's uncle's great-grandkids. So that was so cool to go over there. Had lunch with my father on Friday. That was wonderful. Ate dinner with a college buddy on Saturday, and that was wonderful. Hated finding out that one of my nephews was actually in Columbus at the same time I was, and I didn't even think of linking up with him. So that was heartbreaking to miss out on that. But man, just as good of a time as you can have. Well, we had it. The priest was great in his homily for Aunt Pat's funeral mass on Thursday morning. So a lot of good things. Saw a lot of family members I hadn't seen in years. It was, like I said, it was as good as a funeral week could possibly be. And it's really good to see you again. And it's really good to be back. So thanks for your understanding. And I know you understood, but wasn't it just my luck? Wasn't it just my luck that the week I leave is the week where I feel like sports-wise I was needed the most, because you and I were the only ones on top of the Cattell Marte thing from the beginning. And the rest of this town is sucking up to Cattell Marte for the last year and a half. We're the ones saying, this guy is a fraud. What are we doing? And we're the only ones on that drum. And now it happens, and we don't get to beat the drum. So sorry about that, but I know that you understand. I know you do, but at the same time, I still wish I could have been here under better circumstances. But a lot of good things. A lot of good things. Okay, one kind of quick announcement. I haven't had a chance to talk to Guru Rich or Guru Brad about this, but I am thinking the best time for the Unplugged Army Fantasy Draft would be Friday afternoon, the 4th. I'm not available on the 28th. I'm nervous about doing it the 29th. It would work, but here's why I'm nervous. I'm on TV the night of the 29th. And it might be a little difficult to go in, do the draft, have beers, and then at some point that afternoon, head over to 12 News. So I don't think it'll work, but you could talk me into it. You can talk me into the 29th. Some of you might not like the 4th because it's the Friday of Labor Day weekend, and a lot of you are like, hey, I got my Labor Day weekend plans. I'm really busy. So if there's we won't go majority rules, but we'll go super majority. So anybody that's interested in joining the Unplugged Army Fantasy Football League, get all of your introductory emails in saying you want in. I do have some emails from some of you already. And the emails that were already sent by people, it's going to be a first come, first served basis. So some people have already emailed in. It's also kind of right of first refusal. If you were in it last year, you're welcome to join again this year. If we get more than one league can handle, we will divide it out into 2 separate leagues, and then we will have the winners meet in a postseason league to determine the grand champion. Something like that is my initial plan. So I am tentatively scheduling the draft coming up on Friday, September 4th, unless there is just an overwhelming number of you that say, no, please, Doug, have it the 29th. The 4th is really, really bad. And if only a couple of you say the 4th is bad, it's the 4th. But if I get outvoted by a huge number, then we're going to have the draft on the 29th. And I'll just have to suck it up and only have like 2 beers and do it in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday, the 29th. So you let me know. If it's Friday, I can be flexible on time. I will be at 100 Mile Brewing Company at 11 in the morning. You're allowed to join me that early if you want to, but it'll cost money. I am the MC of an Arizona State booster club called the VABC. And they're not just Arizona State. They also donate a lot of money to different kids charities, sport, athletic charities, things like that. But Graham Rossini, the athletic director of Arizona State, is the featured guest, and I'm going to be the MC for the event, asking him questions. So if you're an ASU fan, feel free to attend the meeting at 100 Mile Brewing Company. Just be prepared to pay for it. I don't remember how much it costs to come to the meeting, but somewhere between, I don't know, like $50 and $100. And I know you're going, whoa, hey, it's also membership. So I'd love to have you. I'll give you more information about it if you're interested coming up later this week. But then after that meeting, I would then be available for any of you to start the draft. So we can start it like at 2, or if some of you say, no, let me work a full day Friday and get there later in the afternoon, we can do it late afternoon, early evening. Anything works for me on September 4th. I will probably Uber there so I can not worry about my alcohol intake and then ask Jennifer to come get me. I probably will not win this year's Unplugged Army League because I might have had a lot of beer before the draft, so that might be an advantage for you since I am the defending champion. But if a lot of you say, no, Doug, a Saturday works 10 times better, we can do it on the 29th, that would definitely be early in the afternoon so I can eventually get over to Channel 12 later on that night. I think that's it. That's it for announcements. I'll give you more information on the Fantasy League later on this week. Get your requests in to join to me, Doug, at DougFranzUnplugged.com, and do that quickly. And then also include in your ask to join the league which date you prefer, the 29th or the 4th. And again, it's got to be a super majority for me to change my mind off of the 4th. But I'll listen. And that's it. It's time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day, and it's been Biggie-sized by your local Wendy's, where you can go for Biggie Bites, Biggie Bag, Biggie Bundle. And the reason why I keep reminding you of that is when I landed Tuesday night, everything except Wendy's in Columbus was closed. So we swung through a Wendy's, and I forgot about the Biggie Bite, Biggie Bag, Biggie Bundle. But I love the spicy chicken sandwich, so I was happy. And you can also I did get that. It was really good. And I was really impressed. Granted, I'm promoting, Columbus area Wendy's when they don't sponsor Doug Franz Unplugged. Our locally owned and operated Phoenix area Wendy's and Arizona Wendy's are what sponsors Doug Franz Unplugged. But anyway, it was 11:40. They closed at midnight, and the fries were still hot with 20 minutes to go before closing. That really impressed me. All right, let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where are you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug?
Everyone plays from the CM spots, Doug.
Doug had given me a stat.
With that, I am happy to take your questions. Let's start with Doug.
This is a great question, Doug.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. I know you've probably been sitting there all week and you can't wait for a legendary Doug Franz Unplugged rant on Ketel Marte. And you know what? I don't have one. And you'll never guess why. I already know the guy's a putz. We've already known that. So how is this shocking? Doug's Big One today, my number one opinion is how jacked up I am about the Arizona Diamondbacks in a positive way. I mean, that game on Monday, after the situation occurred with Marte, was a civic embarrassment. Those guys were awful. They were unfocused. They were everything, but they were human. Tuesday, they tried to come back, and Merrill Kelly was a disaster. I'm going back last week against Boston. Merrill Kelly gives up a bunch of runs. It's 3-0. And what do? Gabby Moreno hits a granny, and the Diamondbacks take the lead 4-3 before more of a meltdown from Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly was terrible. 4 innings pitched, 6 earned runs. That's not a Ketel Marte issue. It's a Merrill Kelly issue. So they lose that game. And then on Wednesday, their starting pitcher, Brandon Pfaadt, goes 5 2/3 and gives up 5 earned runs and 7 hits. It's another day where you could easily have laid down. And what did they do? They came back little by little, got it tied, scored 2 in the top of the 10th, only gave up a run in the bottom of the 10th, and they salvaged the last game at Fenway. And I got to tell you, as mad as I was at the embarrassment of losing 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, you took 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, and you won a game in Boston. You ended the road trip 3-3. Again, if they wouldn't have embarrassed themselves against the Rockies, I would have loved 3-3. And to mix in the embarrassment of Ketel Marte, and you still salvage that game, then you come home, and the distraction is still there because now you have to understand when you get home, there's all the home media. What I mean by that is baseball is not cost effective enough to cover as if you're television media. So the television media, podcasters like me, different websites that cover the Diamondbacks, none of them travel. Basically, the only people that travel are the TV crew that's paid for by the Diamondbacks because they have to. Steve Gilbert, because he has to. It's MLB.com. And the Arizona Republic doesn't have to. Give them credit. They send either Jose Romero and Nick Picoro. And that's really it. There's not a lot of road media. So now this is the biggest story for the Diamondbacks this year. So all 4 television stations are there. The local radio station is there. I've heard that there's a sports station in town. They're there. There's even news media there. I mean, there's everybody there to ask all the questions to the players. What about Ketel? What about Ketel? What about Ketel? And they turn around and they win that game 9-0. 9-0 on Friday, the first day in front of local media again. 9-0. Erod 5 2/3. Doesn't give up an earned run. Bullpen lights out. Perdomo and Lawler both go 3 for 5. Carroll and Gabby go 2 for 5. Are you kidding? And then on Saturday, heartbreaker because Soroka gets shelled, and eventually we find out why he gets put on the DL. So Sunday you could lay another egg. They're down 3-0, and they come back and win 5-3. It's just, that's phenomenal. I'm not going to try to sell you on the fact that the Reds are the best team in baseball, but still, they found a way to get it done despite all of the Marte distractions. You should be upset at Ketel Marte. He's got your money. $92 million contract extension. A horrible decision. No, let me take that back where I was going. Not a good decision by Mike Hazen to sign him to the deal. A horrific decision by Mike Hazen. The worst of his career to not trade Ketel Marte in the offseason. The man's made a lot of good moves. The man's made some bad moves. The worst move of his tenure was not trading Ketel Marte in this offseason. And we were all over it. What did you and I talk about? I don't care whether you bring back Torrey or Ketel, but it can't be an and. It can't be bring back Torrey and Ketel. They clearly made the right choice, in my opinion, on bringing back Torrey. I think he's just doing a phenomenal job. Like, you might think I'm nuts, but one of the best jobs this century. Yeah, I'm that crazy right now over how hard it was to overcome what they've done, or what Ketel tried to do to the team, and where they're at right now. This is a positive feeling. We already knew Ketel's a joke. I mean, sure, I can go off on him, the famous story of him being in the casino. after he did his rehab. But he doesn't play baseball to win. He plays baseball for attention. He plays baseball for the accolades. He wants everybody, he just wants to have fun. He's not a winner, though. He's just not a winner. Like winners do lose, but winners are the type of people that hate losing. Winners are the type of people that will do whatever they can within the rules to win the game, and they thrive on competition. Ketel Marte is the type of person that can't handle the negativity of competition. He can lose 7-1, but if he went 3 for 4 with a homer, he's happy. Hey, look at me. I got a home run. He's the one that's celebrating everything he does. And he wants his teammates to do well. Hey, you got a home run too. That's fun. But the game's just supposed to be fun. Other people look at it and say, the only thing that's fun is winning. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. They love the competition, but they love winning more. That's not Ketel. It's just, hey, let's just have fun. Let's just everybody get along and have fun. If you want to know what I think happened, it's really simple. I think Ketel Marte is pissy. That's it. I think Ketel Marte's knee hurt a little bit. And I bet you anything, for the first time, Torey Lovullo asked him to play through it. And Ketel Marte whined and cried about it. And then I totally believe he stayed up all of Sunday night at the hotel bar in Boston drinking, and then felt like, wait, I don't have to play, and then was asked again to play. Can you at least DH? And he's sitting there, no, and now he's all mad that you make him play. Like, wait, you don't trust me? I need off. Okay, we're not asking you to run. We just need you to, we want your bat in the lineup. We want you to DH. And so he just shuts it down, quits on his team, because it's not fair they asked him to play. That's totally what I think happened. And stopped communicating and went into a shell. And he thinks that's a good idea. He thinks that's the way to handle it. His amazing lack of maturity, his amazing lack of competitive value. The guy's a putz. I've never been this personal against anybody in my life in talk radio. Never. But he's a quitter. And I don't blame him anymore because the team has allowed him to get away with it. And I blame Mike Hazen for not trading him. He didn't show me anything about his character we didn't already know. So why go crazy about it? Why lose my mind about it? I am so impressed with the fortitude of an Ildemaro Vargas who didn't have a job in baseball if it wasn't for a invitation to spring training, and he fought his way through all year. Horrific slump in the middle part of the year, and now he's battled back to the point he's an incredibly valued member of the team. Nolan Arenado playing through bad knees all the time because he wants to win. Gabby Moreno and Corbin Carroll fighting through the years that the struggles that each of them had, and now they're hot. There is so much to be happy about. I refuse to let Ketel Marte bring me down. Let me give you an example of this. I mean, this to me is what either you could argue leadership, or you can look at it through the prism of who's the professional, who says, I'm not going to allow this guy to affect what I bring to the table. It's only a 5-game sample size, right? 5 games. I'm Monday's a pass. Everybody's human. Listen to these numbers for Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right. Gabriel Moreno, slash, 278, 391, 556. Remember, you want elite players are 300, 400, 500. All right? Hall of Fame elite players are 300, 400, 500. He's 278, 391, 556. A home run, a stolen base, 8 RBIs in those 5 games. And he's walked as much as he struck out. 4 Ks, 4 walks. Corbin Carroll, 389, 478, 611 with an RBI, a stolen base, and he has also walked as many times as he struck out. Tim Tawa, 350, 409, 550. 3 RBIs, a stolen base, a home run, and he has walked as many times as he struck out. And the young guy, the rookie, Ryan Waldschmidt, 333, 444, 467, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, and he's the only one that struck out more than he's walked, and it's only by a ratio of 4-3. That's phenomenal. Gabby Moreno, Corbin Carroll, Tim Tawa, Ryan Waldschmidt. When this team needed them the most, they have stood up in an enormous way. Ildemaro Vargas, not as much, so he doesn't get credit for the list, but he had a double and a triple yesterday. That's where we get jacked up. Let's go. This team deserves our attention for overcoming this. It's clear that this team is just immune. I really don't think it shocked them. I don't think it shocked them at all. It did on the first day, absolutely. They lost 11-1, errors galore, low baseball. I mean, everything was bad Monday at Fenway. But gosh, look what they've overcome. I don't know what to expect against the Cubs. The Cubs are so much better than they are. But I got to tell you, this is a time for Torey Lovullo to stand in front of his troops before this series and say, guys, in the midst of all of the misery of the last week, we went 3-3, and look at the performance of these 4 guys. And this is all in the face of not great starting pitching in that time. So let's go. Problem is Merrill Kelly's on the hill tonight, and he's got issues. And man, Merrill, if there's ever been a time, hopefully it's tonight. And that's Doug's big one. Labor Day sale is underway at Santan Ford 202 in Val Vista. You can get $6,000 off the new 2026 Ford Mustang. Yeah! $6,000 off. Oh, even better. No payments for 90 days. Free 2-year premium Ford maintenance. Come on. And if you're married to somebody that wants a Mustang, it's time to have that talk. Oh, by the way, synthetic blend oil change, tire rotation, and more, less than $100 before taxes at Santan Ford. That's hard to top. That's your Labor Day sale right now at Santan Ford. I am proud to tell you that I'm Santan Ford. Let's get into the game itself now with the Diamondbacks and some of the issues. The Michael Soroka thing is enormous. That's an enormous problem. He only pitches 3 innings, gets blown up on the Saturday game, 3 1/3, gives up 6 earned runs. We've got problems there. We've got massive problems with Merrill Kelly. We have a starting pitching problem. Mitch Bratt, not able to consistently throw strikes. Don't really have a better option than him right now, but he's not a good one. You're in desperate need of getting Corbin Burnes back and ready. The problem is, how do you know that you can count on him this year? You need Zach Gallen back. But sadly, you can't count on him this year with the way that he's been pitching. And then hopefully Ryan Nelson comes back soon, but he's a little young for us to put huge expectations on him. So there is massive problems in the starting rotation. Bullpen looks fantastic right now. Erod, I wish he would have been able to go longer on Friday, but he still got it done with 5 2/3 of an inning. The Soroka thing's a big deal, and yesterday's bullpen was just fantastic, and luckily the offense just never gave in. And if you didn't see yesterday's game, Andrew Abbott for the Reds was just dominating the D-backs. A double in the first was left stranded, 1, 2, 3 in the second. A double in the third was left stranded, kind of 1, 2, 3 in the fourth. It was a walk and a double play, a single and a sacrifice, and then back-to-back strikeouts ended the fifth. Truth be told, I'm not a huge sacrifice bunt fan, but I was okay. I want you to know up front, I was really okay with Jordan Lawler's sacrifice bunt in the fifth. Technically, I don't think that should be a sacrifice bunt. Every official scorer scores it that way. But Jordan Lawler was bunting for a base hit with the knowledge of, oh, well, if I don't get it, I just put a runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. So great job. I don't have a problem with that at all. When you read it, and you might have been successful if you would have bunted it a little harder. Then comes the 6th inning where they crack open for a run. Corbin Carroll triple, Gabby Moreno sac fly. And then they eat everybody up in the 7th, load the bases in the first 3 batters, and Nootbaar gets an RBI ground out. And then Vargas with an enormous 2-run triple. And then he scores on a Corbin Carroll sac fly. You get 4 runs in the 7th, down 3-0. Now you're up 5-3. And sorry about backtracking. I mean, I wanted to talk about yesterday's game, but as soon as I said, bases loaded in your first 3 hitters, it made me think of Wednesday's game while I was gone. Jose Fernandez, a rookie who just gets called up, had a bases loaded walk in the 10th inning that was able to knock in the insurance run that ended up being the game winner, because the Diamondbacks did give up a run in the bottom of the 10th. Now, granted, it was a ground out to Fernandez, and because there was already 1 out and a 2-run lead, hey, let the guy score, get the second out of the inning, and they could gamble on that. But that run, let's just really focus on that. Again, sorry to go back to Wednesday, but it was such a huge moment for a young man to take a bases-loaded walk. You have this energy and nervousness about you as a rookie, and you want to be the hero, hit the grand slam, get the 2-run, 3-run double, whatever it is. You're all jacked up to prove to the world what you can do. And you take a walk. And it was not an easy walk. It wasn't like it was a 4-pitch walk in which every pitch was well out of the strike zone and it was an easy battle for a rookie. It was nothing like that. It was a very patient but difficult approach. And he handled it with such poise. It was a 7-pitch at bat, and he did have 1 foul ball with 2 strikes. It was a 2-2 count. He fouled off a pitch, and then he took ball 3 and ball 4 back to back. Then turn around. What does that run do? Because you're up 7-5 going into the bottom of the 10th. Well, in the bottom of the 10th, the Red Sox get a runner to third, get the Manfred man to third base, and you got 1 out. Well, with 1 out, you're going to bring the infield in because you don't want the tying run to score, and you might bring in the outfield a little bit in order to try to get that sac fly gunned down at the plate and make it not a sac fly. You're not going to bring your outfield too much in because You don't want to turn a sac fly into a base hit, meaning you allow the runner to be safe at first because now the go-ahead, the winning run, gets on base. But you're going to try to cut down the tying run, and maybe in bringing the infield in, that chopper would have gotten through. Obviously, I'm messing with the space-time continuum. I have no idea if you take away the Jose Fernandez walk in the top of the 10th, how does that change the bottom of the 10th when the Red Sox come to the plate only down by a run? I don't know what would have changed. But I do know you can play it safer from an infield defense standpoint when you're up by 2, as they were with a runner on third and 1 out. Now they're able to stay out of the big inning. They allow the run to score, but Fernandez takes the ball, gets the out at first base, throwing it across the diamond. Now there's 2 outs. There's nobody on when the Red Sox, after they score their run, and they get a little Caleb Duran pop up to first, and there's your ball game. And gosh, that win was huge. Just to breathe after the Ketel Marte crap and get that win. And it's a rookie taking a bases-loaded walk. I love this team. That's how I'm feeling. I love this team. And this was one of the hardest weeks they've ever had as players to go through. I mean, we can't build this up enough. A man they counted on let them down. Imagine that at work. There's people in that locker room that are scared to death, worried about the human being that is Ketel Marte. There are people in that locker room, I'm sorry to be a jerk right now, they hate Ketel Marte. I'm not reporting, but I'm assuming what it's like in any office. There are people that have unbridled anger towards Ketel Marte, but they still love him. There are guys that want this man cut, and they never want to see him in the clubhouse again. There are other people that are like very laid back. Hey, that's just Ketel. Whatever. I can't get away with that, but I don't care that I can't get away with that. I got my job to do. You've got 26. You got somebody in that clubhouse that's just thrilled to be there. Fine. If you didn't want to play, I do. You got 26 people in that clubhouse, and I am willing to bet you've probably got about 10 different opinions. You've got factions on how this should be handled. You don't believe me? Look at your office. Look at your job site. You telling me there aren't a lot of people that are highly opinionated on how the work should be done? It's the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing. Yet come first pitch, other than Monday and Fenway, they all came ready to play. They all came ready to play. That Tuesday game, down 3-0, and you get the granny from Gabriel Moreno, and it just so happens that Merrill Kelly still totally blows the game. Can't do anything about that. But they overcome a rare bad start from Brandon Pfaadt and get the win in extra innings, coming back. Then they get home, another round of distractions. They win 9-0. Here we go. Here we go. Go D-backs. All right, coming up next, got a lot of Cardinals, a little bit of ASU to talk about, and some odds and ends coming up on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Go to ParkerPaysYourPower.com. Nominate a friend, a coworker, anyone you know that's going through a tough time. Parker might choose them and pay their power bill. Go to ParkerPaysYourPower.com.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Come check us out at Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp. We're on Estrella Parkway, just south of the 10. My name is Aaron. I also go by AG Kleino on Twitter. I've been in the Unplugged Army since the dark days. And my message to the listeners would just be, as far as Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp is concerned, is it's not selfish to care for yourself. At Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, we strive to inspire fitness and change lives every day.
DBACKS and Cubs tonight. Come on now. Let's go. Hit it. Didn't really hit the post. That was a little early. Cardinals looked amazing in the Hall of Fame game. Looked amazing against a bad Raiders team. And then they took on the Cowboys this weekend, and they did not look amazing at all against Dallas. Defense struggled, couldn't put any pressure on the quarterback, couldn't cover anybody, and the offense could move the ball at will except for the fact of committing penalties to move the ball backwards. 2 touchdowns called back because of penalties. Not a good day for Mike LaFleur and the boys. The penalties were his biggest concern, but let's start with a weaker concern, and that was the deep shots. This cornerback room doesn't look good right now. What did you think of the deep shots, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, you got one, it takes 2 hitches without a chip protection and ends up hitting a double move. And it's like you tip the cap to him. It was a good ball. He ran a double move on a corner, When we're in those situations on offense, we feel like, we're going to make the play as well on those double moves. Those are tough in the single safeties. And you got to play some single safeties to be able to stack the box a little bit. The other ones were more just the off schedule. So I'd have to go back and look at, obviously, the tape to see what happened and how things got off schedule. Is it the offense making a good play, or are we out of our rush lanes? And then when you're out of your rush lanes, you got to be so disciplined to get sticky, on the defenders. When you're playing, or on the offense, when you're playing zone coverage, those things can happen. So it's a cumulative effect amongst all 11. But that's what I saw in those other ones.
It sounds like one of them he's not concerned about. Looking at it from a defensive standpoint of what we had called, with them having a back into chip, that gave the quarterback more time, and they timed it out perfectly with a double move because they couldn't get the pressure on the quarterback. They hit it. There you go. I don't really like that attitude, but I kind of understand it. I think he's more blaming the defensive call, but not necessarily blaming Nick Rallis, because it's more like he's calling plays to evaluate players, and he hasn't game planned for how do we stop Dallas. He doesn't even know who Dallas is playing, like what players they're playing. So it's almost like he's throwing his hands up of, they caught us in this perfect play to call against the defense we had in, and our corner was kind of hung out to dry. It's tough on a double move. But I will say this. You don't want to see your corner back, I believe it was Starling Marte, Starling Marte is an outfielder that was a one-time Diamondback. Starling Thomas, I believe it was Starling Thomas that just confused me that I threw myself off like that. I believe it was Starling Thomas that got beat. Well, I do look at it a little differently than he does. If you don't have the safety help over the top on that play, then why is Thomas buying the double move play fake? Or pump fake, I shouldn't say. A play fake is a fake to the running back on a handoff in order to fool the linebackers. A pump fake, you're trying to either move the safety away from your intended target, or you time out your pump fake with the double move of the receiver. So if I'm covering you and you stop your route, you turn towards the quarterback at the split second, the quarterback fakes a throw to you. The goal is to get me to jump so I can jump in front of it and get the interception. And then right when I jump, your hesitation on your move ends and you take off down the field. Now the quarterback's got you wide open. Well, that's a combination of rush and cover. If I know that we've got like a blitz going, I know I can jump that move because either you are going to throw it and I've got an easy interception, or you don't throw it and now you get sacked because we've got a blitz. Or I can jump that route because I know I've got safety help over the top. So you throw this quick hitch, I jump in front of it and I get a pick. You pull a double move on me, it's okay. I got a safety right there. So I look at Starling Thomas and I think either you have a blitz or you have safety help. It's okay to jump that route. He didn't have either. So if he doesn't have either, you cannot buy the double move. You've got to say, I don't have help. If you want to throw a hitch in front of me, I've got to let you have it. I just got to make sure I make a sure tackle. But I can't be going for glory and going for the interception when I don't have a great pass rush or I don't have safety help called. So even though the head coach is like, well, they got us here. I'm kind of looking at Starling Thomas and saying, this is just a football IQ play of you going for the pick on this one. So it's not just, they got us. I kind of look at him. And then the other ones, the other deep shots he's talking about, I do like his attitude there because his attitude is a team-wide kind of blame game of, hey, these are tough opportunities down the field because we're not getting the pass rush. And these guys have to hold their mark a lot closer for a lot longer, and that's tough. And he's right. It is tough. Problem is your cornerback room is not good. It's not good. But I like his attitude about it. The secondary attitude about it, not the first one. Okay, but that wasn't the main focus. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on that. Where everybody was talking about was penalties. It started with a question by the paid-for fake member of the media that's there to ask questions to lead him to positive answers. And what I like about LaFleur is he didn't take the bait of, hey, everything's positive. He went right after what was negative when just asked the simple question, what did you think about the operation today, getting in and out of the huddle and getting the plays called?
Like I told the guys, they moved the ball well, but you can't have penalties anywhere. It's like no penalties in 2-minute situations. It's like, no, you can't. You don't want penalties ever, like for 60 minutes, because that's good versus bad football. And we ended up having some really critical situations there in the red zone. Took 2 touchdowns off the board in one, and then obviously, you're at the inch line and you're going to sneak it in, and we jumped that running back. So it's just sloppy. Like that's like if we're gonna go down, we're gonna go down swinging and swinging the right way. And good learning ops, though. I know that.
I really like that. It was an easy question. How did the operations go? Well, we did this, we did this, we did this. And immediately, LaFleur's not afraid to admit what went wrong. Went right after these penalties. And then he kind of started talking faster than his brain started moving faster than his mouth, is what I felt like. Because you could feel where he was jumping. He was jumping to, there's an old line about, man, you can't have penalties in the red zone. You can't have penalties in the 2-minute. You can't have penalties backed up at your own end zone. You can't. Well, he's saying, listen, none of that's true. Because it's all true. You just can't have penalties. It changes the entire down and distance and makes the entire game that much harder. So 2 touchdowns called back by penalties and 1 goal-to-go situation of an easy sneak is taken away by a penalty. So he's dropping the hammer. And notice he said the word sloppy. So number 1 follow-up by America's reporter, Teo Mackey, was, hey, how do you stop these penalties? You've been talking about it for a while. How do you stop them from happening?
You just keep talking about them and keep showing them, the consequences of it. We're going to use our snap counts. We're not going to not use our snap. That's one of the biggest advantages an offense has over a defense is we at least know when it's going to get snapped and the defense doesn't. So as long as I'm getting the play in on time and we're breaking the huddle on time with urgency to line of scrimmage, we should never be rushed where a defense knows what our snap count's going to be. So, again, we just got to keep on working on it. And I thought, like I told the guys, I thought it was just a culmination of our week. We had a sloppy week of practice. I don't think we've practiced really well over the last week since Vegas. I think there's been individuals that have practiced well. I think there's been times where we've done some good things, but overall was not good enough. And I thought this was tonight a summary of that week in general.
Okay, 2 main points there to focus on. He talked about snap count and sloppy. Let's start with the first point he made. We're not going to change our snap counts. This is going to be a fascinating element to his coaching tenure. Does a coach need to change to adapt to his players, or does a player need to change to adapt to his coach, to their coach? Aaron Rodgers, arguably, is the greatest quarterback of all time at snap count and enticing offsides. Maybe Peyton, maybe Brady. I have no idea how good a Len Dawson was at it, or a Johnny Unitas, people that were before my time. But I would say Aaron Rodgers has always been the best at snap count. Hot, and enticing guys to jump off sides. So Mike LaFleur is big on coaching up different snap counts, changing up snap counts all the time. It's a way to slow down the pass rush. But if your guys are false starting, you're only hurting yourself. So what do? What's also interesting about the snap count thing is you're an Arizona Cardinal. You have a very weak fan base. You have and the fan base you do have that are hardcore are unbelievably disgruntled. And you have an owner that's charging an exorbitant amount of money for a losing franchise and season ticket prices. So, what does that spell? Silent snap counts. It spells the problem of it's going to be too loud and even at home games. You've got to go to a silent count, and now you've worked all this time on snap counts, and you can't use them. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but his guys are false starting with the snap counts, and here he says, we're not going to change the snap count. I do support him on that. I kind of like the stubbornness. Hey, guys, get it done. And it is the player's fault when they're the ones false starting. That's not the coach's fault. But I will say the coach needs to change if it's an environmental thing. You playing at home in front of a road field advantage that the other team will have at State Farm Stadium, I kind of do think you have to change, because it's too much to expect your team to hear their quarterback in their home building when the other team's crowd is into it. The second portion of that answer was sloppy. Had a sloppy week, and it bled into the game. That led to a fantastic follow-up from Josh Weinfuss, free plug for ESPN's beat reporter of the Arizona Cardinals. Josh asked that you're this deep into the preseason, why was it so sloppy? Why did you have a sloppy week of practice?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Like I always tell the guys, like when that happens, it's on coaching too. So I missed something. There's a couple things that, I think I could have done better in terms of our practice structure and stuff like that. And I mean that. I don't need to get into the details with it, but I told the guys that, I told the vets that some things I learned about, our process going into it. So, but we got to get cleaned up if we want to be the team that we want to be.
I love the follow-up. I just wish the next follow-up would have been what made the week sloppy, because I'm really interested in that. See, it's hard when a veteran knows I've made the team and we're not game planning. So I'm kind of going through the motions, kind of not. I know the playbook, okay. The young players that are fighting like crazy for a job, they're all intense, getting ready for this week, but they're still not game planning. So they're a nervous wreck. And you just have a really weird week. It'll be interesting to see what happens this week. They practice against the Packers all week, a much better team. And I'm interested in having some guests on this week to find out kind of what we saw at Green Bay. Really interested in that. So maybe America's reporter Teo Mackey, maybe, I don't know who's going up from 12 News, but either Cam Cox or Lena Washington. I'm really interested in getting their perspective on the week of practice in Green Bay. So hopefully we'll have that for you this week. And then we'll be able to see the results on Friday, but there's no way any starters play on Friday. And listen, I'm the one that keeps saying you don't get better at football without playing football. But even I don't want starters in for the final preseason game. I would have played the starters last week against Dallas, or this last weekend against Dallas. Oh, yeah. I'd play the starters first and second week. I wouldn't have played them in the Hall of Fame game, but I'd play them first and second week and then shut it down week 3. No reason. No reason to get anybody hurt going in. But I would be playing them. I love the joint practices. Completely believe in the joint practices. And that should ramp up the intensity of practice. But for the most part, I thought against Dallas, this was more of the reality of the situation of this defense is just not good. And I think the offense is actually going to be okay, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to handle the shootouts the defense is going to put it in. ASU had a scrimmage on Saturday night. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to make it. I was actually planning on going, and oh my gosh, was I a wuss. Getting used to the time change and being in Ohio, I went to Columbus on Friday afternoon and ate dinner with a buddy, or bought dinner for a buddy and his family. My college buddy did a lot of work for me to start making the transition to video, and I really appreciated it. And I spent the night at his house because our flight was Saturday morning at 7:45. I have flown American Airlines back home to Phoenix 4 times in the last 6 months, and all 4 times they were late. They screwed up the flight. So I'm pretty bitter at American right now. So we get up early and then fly home. And I admit I was up. I did not plan out my weekend very well. I was up late Friday night talking to him, reminiscing about college, but also learning about different video things and just talking forever about a lot of different things. So I'm up till midnight, don't sleep real well because I'm an old man now, and I had jalapeno cheddar sausage and spicy barbecue sauce. And that just caused some issues a couple hours after I had Skyline chili. So the stomach didn't handle sleeping very well. Then I get on the plane. By the time we got home, which was about 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, I was miserably exhausted. So the original plan was, hey, I'm going to get home pretty early, probably watch one of the Diamondbacks games on the DVR, take a little nap, and then head out to the scrimmage. And I slept all day Saturday. Like, it was crazy. I got out of bed and Jennifer said, dinner. You know, it was like one of those days Saturday. So I totally blew the scrimmage and wasn't able to go. But obviously, the number one thing everybody wants to know is the quarterback situation. Number one, he's asked about the quarterback situation and what was seen. But number two, I just want to let you know, if you're ever in a media scrum and you ask a question, do not say, real loud while your subject matter is talking. Because we're there to get the sound from the coach, not the sound from you.
Jake had some really nice plays out there tonight. Mikey had 2 touchdown passes. That was a positive. So I thought, like I said, I got to go back and watch the tape specifically. Those 2 guys I thought played well. You know, Cutter, we had a few sacks. Somebody made a great play, an interception by him. But a couple of those sacks he can't control, and those sacks ruin your down and distance. So your drives turn into, 2nd and 19, so you can't even control it. You know, sometimes you got to watch the tape to really evaluate, why somebody had success or why somebody failed. Because it's all 11. It's not just one.
So it says Jake Fetty, the freshman, looked good. Mikey Keene had 2 touchdown passes. Cutter Boley had a few sacks, but you got to evaluate the whole film because it ruins the down and distance, and therefore he doesn't get as many opportunities. And Not everything's his fault. It's 11 guys, not just one. Well, let's focus on that for a second. Mikey Keene, Cutter Boley looks like a starting Division I quarterback. I am not one to judge in any way who should be the starting quarterback for Arizona State because I have seen one scrimmage. That's it. My opinion is basically invalid because of that. I don't mind admitting it. But from what I have seen, Mikey Keene is clearly the better quarterback. And now I hear he had 2 more touchdown passes. Okay, that's my guy. I say it should be Mikey Keene. Cutter Boley gives you a lot more to work with. But if he's not getting it, why are you, then he's not the guy. And hearing him say he took, the sacks, well, if it's a 3-step drop and he can't even get the ball out without somebody in his face, that's on the O-line. That's not his fault. But a lot of times people don't understand. And I know Kenny does, of course. Kenny knows far more about football than I will ever dream to know. Some people never understand that a quarterback can be sacked and it's 100% his fault. There are times in a play call where you turn a guy loose. You are literally not blocking somebody. And you say, if this guy comes on a blitz, that's the quarterback's responsibility. And the quarterback knows, as I drop back, the first thing I have to do is make sure that the guy I'm responsible for isn't rushing me. Because if he's rushing me, I've got to get the ball out immediately. Immediately. And I've got to know if he's coming. And what happens is sometimes quarterbacks forget that, and then they get blown up and everybody thinks the O-line failed. And there's no way to know as a casual fan, even as a member of the media, what the play was called, whose responsibilities is what based on that blocking scheme, that protection scheme, and then whether or not it was followed. We don't know. So when he says the sacks were a problem, I'm a little bit wondering, okay, why weren't they a problem for Mikey Keene? Why was he able to handle it? So I do put that on Cutter Boley to an extent, but I admit I don't know. Sometimes a blitz is called, the quarterback realizes it, turns to throw to his hot receiver, and his hot receiver didn't know he was hot. Hot is a very simple thing. If you're the hot receiver, that means you are supposed to notice they're blitzing. And then you don't run the route that's been called. You have a called route. You're supposed to do this, whatever this is. Up, it's a blitz. Now you do this in order for the quarterback to get the ball to you. Even if it's only a 3-yard gain. A 3-yard gain is better than a 7-yard loss on the sack. Would you not rather have 2nd and 7 than 2nd and 17? I mean, that's kind of the difference between getting the ball out to your hot receiver and getting sacked on the blitz. Well, if the hot receiver still runs his regular route and the quarterback eats it, man, that's a great play by the quarterback. That's a great play. You were supposed to throw the ball to the hot receiver and you noticed he wasn't running it. And you ate the sack. Good job. Like nobody ever tells a quarterback, good job taking a sack. But that would be a great job because it's very easy to throw it blindly to the hot receiver and have the hot receiver not run the route correctly. Now it's an interception. You threw a pick because somebody wasn't where they were supposed to be. It's better to take a sack than throw a pick. So I don't know what was going on there with Cutter Boley, but to me, it's another example that Mikey Keene should be the guy. And then there's the really terrible news of a kid from Arkansas that transferred in, got hurt up at Camp T, and come to find out he's done.
So Nigel Pringle had an injury at Camp T. He's going to be out for the year, unfortunately. Fluke injury, but he'll be out for the year. He's a tough kid, and sad to see it.
Doesn't affect the starting lineup at all, but massively affects the depth. I guarantee you if that team was going, maybe I shouldn't say guarantee if it was nickel, but if that team was going in some kind of dime package, if they had 6 DBs on the field, he would have been one of them. So, and if any corner got hurt in a game, he might have been the first or second one off the bench. So that you're really hurt depth-wise by losing him. So that stinks. Both ASU, U of A play next Saturday. Beginning of college football weekend is this weekend, the famous week 0. The first game of the college football season, you can't help but laugh about it, comes up this Saturday. Bill Belichick and North Carolina against TCU in Dublin, Ireland. That's a huge game for the Big 12. It really is. Because as down as everybody assumes UNC is under Bill Belichick, it'll be an embarrassment to the conference to lose unless UNC shocks the world and goes 12-0. If they don't shock the world, you can't be losing to UNC if you are the Big 12. So it's kind of a big game, and it's already coming up on Saturday. That's crazy. That is really crazy. Since I'm on college football, how about this crazy answer to a trivia question? Do you know who Daquan Wright is? Daquan Wright is about to become, possibly, the first player in the history of the NFL who is asked to be cut, is waiting to clear waivers so he can sign with LSU. LSU. He's currently in Cleveland on the Cleveland Browns. The head coach, Todd Monken, just said the other day that he got a call from Lane Kiffin that he didn't take, and now he knows what it's about. Daquan Wright wants to sign with LSU. He wants to go back to college football, but he can't until he clears waivers in the NFL. That's where we're at in college sports. That's where we're at in college sports. It's that messed up in the head. If you want the quick explanation, I can give it to you. It's legal, so you might consider it boring. But just so you understand what's happened, there is a guy, I forget his name, it's like Hinsey or something like that, at Northern Colorado, who sued the NCAA for a 5th year of eligibility. You know what? Let me backtrack. Sorry, I should have thought of this first. You might not know about the 5th year of eligibility thing. So COVID hits, and you talk about a wild, wild west thing of ridiculousness. I'll never forget the Oregon State president mocking the SEC for playing football. And he said, well, what do you understand that the SEC doesn't? He goes, science. Acting like it was ridiculous to play through COVID, and the SEC proved, yeah, it was fun. It was just fine. You're all wrong. So the Pac-12, who was very against playing, all of a sudden is trying to cram in games to make money, and they embarrass themselves. Then you had teams cheating like ASU. So it's a big mess. So the NCAA decides everybody that's affected by COVID, your eligibility year didn't count that year. So everybody gets another year. So anybody affected by COVID had 5 years of eligibility. Then you have kids that came in 2021. Their high school years were affected by COVID, but not their college years. So they go back to the standard rule of you get 4 seasons of eligibility to use during 5 years. 4 years over the course of 5, meaning you can take a red shirt. Now, they have changed eligibility, and that every player gets 5 years of eligibility. But it starts retroactively only to an extent. So basically, if you came in 2021, you get 4 years. Everybody else gets 5. Well, a whole bunch of players from 2021 said, wait a minute. You could handle 5 years of eligibility for all of the COVID athletes and you can handle 5 years of eligibility for all incoming athletes, but I only get 4? How is that fair? So they sued. Some sued in federal court with this kid from Northern Colorado in a class action suit. Some of them filed suit in various state courts. The suit that's a class action federal lawsuit that was filed by the Northern Colorado kid, he won a preliminary injunction before the case is heard, making anybody signed up in this class action suit eligible. So all these players jumped back in and were ready to play college sports. The NCAA appealed that stay. It went to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. And for the first time in forever, the NCAA won. So anybody in the class action suit, you're still in the suit, you're still suing for your 5th year of eligibility, but you don't get to play while you're waiting for the court's decision. So anybody in the federal class action suit, they're out. However, there's a ton of players that have sued in a state court, including about 8 players at LSU. And the Louisiana court ruled in favor of the players and against the NCAA. So almost every player that filed in their individual state, they get to force their way into a 5th year of eligibility. But anybody who jumped in on the federal class action suit, they're out until they can. Now they appeal, and then they hope the Supreme Court overturns the Court of Appeals, or they can get the case heard in time to play. That's the mess that's in. Well, this Daquan Wright is one of the people in the LSU 6 to 8 person lawsuit that's in Louisiana State Court. And he has won his injunction, so he's eligible to play. So now he doesn't want to play in the pros because he's an undrafted free agent that probably won't make much money. He wants to go to LSU, make a ton of money, and then go pro next year. So we actually have a situation because of the state court of Louisiana that he's trying to clear waivers in the NFL so he can play for LSU. That's the mess right now that is college sports. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And keep in mind, all of this is because of the ignorance of academia. All these schools with law schools, all of these people that wanted to pretend they understand what it means to be a illegal monopoly when they didn't. And they kept making these rules that continually violated the Sherman Antitrust Act and never saw it coming. They deserve everything that's happening to them. I hate it for the college game, but all of those people deserve it. And remember, who is the NCAA? They are school presidents. Dr. Crow is the NCAA. And as he fought to protect the amateur model this long, he was fighting to protect something illegal. And for some reason, school boards, Board of Regents across the country are not holding college presidents accountable for the mess they've created in college sports. A well-run state Board of Regents would have fired a litany of college presidents across the country. And none of them have the courage to do it. They're all throwing up their hands, acting like, oh, we never saw this coming. We never saw this coming. Yeah, that's exactly why people should be fired from the Board of Regents, because they're too afraid to fire the people that claim to not have seen it coming when that's their job, is to see that coming. That's not Doug's big one, but it's Doug's kind of large opinion. All right, coming up next. A little bit of odds and ends. We got Coyotes and golf news. Yeah, Coyotes news on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh, it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
This is Angie, the owner of Penny Royal Promotions.
Something that experience does for us is somebody might come in and they've been turned away from several other shops because their project might be a little too complicated or time consuming. My crew can go in, look at the project and say, here's what we can do to get it done, number one, and probably save you money. So they're very, very good at not saying no. Something will work. We just got to find out what works best for our client. That's what we do particularly well.
Let's do some odds and ends. Some odds and ends. Some odds and ends. I told you that we cover the four major sports of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. And we have news. It's not a huge story, but it's something that we can get a little bit excited about because if our competition's Atlanta, we win. So two things in odds and ends. We'll start with hockey first. There's a guy by the name of Bill Daly. He's the deputy commissioner of the NHL. He had an exclusive conversation with The Athletic and basically said, for the most part, expansion to Houston is done. Not official, but for the most part, it's done. In which the guy that owns Landry Seafood and a bunch of other things, he owns the Rockets. He has put up the money. They're moving forward. Houston's going to get an expansion NHL team. There is no word on if there's going to be another expansion team. But Bill Daly told The Athletic they're in active conversations with Atlanta and Phoenix. He didn't say other cities. There's always been rumors that Kansas City has been after a team. They have the Sprint Center, which is, well, I forget what it's called now. But they have a gorgeous arena for the NBA or the NHL. Some people have argued Toronto should have two teams because it's such an enormous city, such a hockey-crazed city. And then there's a smattering of other places around where people have said they need an expansion, what have you. If it's between Phoenix and Atlanta, it's really an interesting discussion. Supposedly, Atlanta already has plans for a new arena that is similar to the Atlanta Braves situation. The Braves moved away from downtown into one of the wealthier suburbs. So imagine the Diamondbacks moving up right into the heart of Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and building a smaller stadium there. That's what the Braves did. What the Braves revolutionized is for 400 years, it was if you build it, they will come. So build the stadium, and then a whole bunch of businesses will pop up around it. What the Braves did is they built the stadium and owned the land. The city, basically Gwinnett County, gave them the land in order to build the businesses and the hotels and the ballpark. So now they get a cut of the entire area. And every baseball, really every franchise now wants that. So an expansion arena in Atlanta, of course the new team could come in and play downtown in the Hawks arena while their new arena was being built. Or they can wait until the new arena's done because they haven't started it yet. It's contingent on getting a team. And then they want to build the arena not too far from where the Braves are and create that as the destination, but knowing they're putting an arena right where the wealthier segment of town is. So if that's the case, Atlanta's further along on building an arena than Phoenix is. So Atlanta would win in that situation. There's just one thing you might not realize. Atlanta is the only city that I know of in the NHL. I could be wrong on this. But they're 0 for 2. I mean, it's one thing for hockey to not have worked in a city, but they failed twice. The Calgary Flames are formerly the Atlanta Flames. And then they got an expansion team, the Atlanta Thrashers, and that's the new version of the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets have tried to, in a sense, take claim for the old Winnipeg Jets, and there's no Coyotes to stop them. So the Winnipeg Jets kind of act like the Cleveland Browns as if they're a continual franchise, even though they're not. But both of Atlanta's NHL teams have moved away. So we're going to try for a third? That's what gives advantage to Phoenix. The other advantage to Phoenix is even though Shane Doan works in the NHL, his wife, Andrea, is leading the charge for the expansion team to come to Phoenix. But Gary Bettman will demand that the arena is done. I don't even know if Glendale can produce ice anymore and whether or not they would play in Glendale or if they would just play downtown and just deal with the obstructed seats while the new arena is being built. But he will not come here on a promise of a new arena. There's got to be shovels and rakes and implements of destruction going at it before he signs anything. And then it becomes, okay, where's the arena going to go? And then who's going to pay for the arena in an environment where building an arena is getting harder and harder and harder if you're using taxpayer dollars. And then there's the question of, is Matt Ishbia going to be involved? Well, if Matt Ishbia is involved, then there is a belief some people have that eventually Ishbia will build a new arena downtown and that it will house the Suns and a hockey team. And he has always said this is a four-sport town. And a long time ago, he said, you know, he would love to bring hockey here. And then the last time it was brought up was last year at the closing discussion of the season of the following season that we just had. And he said, I'm going to repeat it. This is a four-sport town, but I got to get the Suns right. I'm working on the Suns. My focus is here. I'm not focused on the NHL at all. So I don't know if that was a statement that he made to just try because he was already not included on NHL stuff, so he's now dismissing it, or if he's the one that nixed it because he's more concerned about fixing the Suns. And truth be told, you know, he doesn't have the money that he used to. He lost over $600 million recently in some bad deals with his mortgage company. So this would not be the time to hit him up for building a new arena. So it's kind of a weird time. So if you're the NHL, you want Phoenix more than Atlanta, but you want an arena more than you want either city. And I think Atlanta's winning on the arena. In case you don't know the rules of the show, you're always allowed to fast forward, even through commercials, as long as you keep an eye on who are the sponsors of Doug Franz Unplugged, right? You got to support the sponsors or there is no show. If you're listening to the show and not supporting the sponsors, you're mooching off of me. I'm giving you everything I got. This is what I need from you, and you're not fulfilling your end of the bargain. So that's why I always say, I understand if you want to fast forward, and this golf segment, it might not be for you. So you go straight to Versus Vegas. Maybe Versus Vegas isn't for you, and you check out right now. And hey, please come back tomorrow. But there's some interesting things that happened golf-wise that were just kind of shocking. Rory going into the BMW Championship while I was gone in Ohio, dropped the hammer in which he was asked about the potential of live golfers coming back. Okay, now it started first with Scotty. So here's your background. Somebody asked Scotty Scheffler, how does he feel that it looks like this is the last ever event for live, and about golfers coming back, and how does he feel about possibly having all the best golfers back in the PGA?
Yeah, I think like when we talk about the best players, Liv has a few players that are really good. I think the depth that we have on our tour is a bit unmatched, but I think when you look at the higher levels of Liv golf, there's definitely some players that would provide, a lot of value to the tour, and guys that I love competing against as well. And so I think going forward, there obviously has to be, I think, some sort of penalties. What those are, I'll let Roll Up and all those guys figure it out. We have great leadership within the tour now, but I think having those guys come back and competing with whatever happens with Liv, whether those guys want to leave or, you got to ask them. But I think for me, being able to compete against the best players in the world, there's certainly some guys on that tour that can compete out here. And, I look forward to the chance to compete with them more often.
Okay, there's some guys on that tour, he says, that would bring value. So everybody knows you're talking about Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. There are some guys that would bring value. It was important that he said, there should be some kind of penalties. I think the most important thing is you make sure that the penalties are much more severe than what was paid by Brooks Koepka. It's totally unfair for Brooks Koepka to accept what was offered as the one-time deal, or the 1-year suspension that's being served, that's even worse than Koepka's deal, that's being served by Patrick Reed. So whatever it is, Rahm and DeChambeau have to have the hammer dropped if they're coming back. But Scotty says, hey, there's a couple guys in that tour that will bring value to the PGA. So Rory McIlroy is asked a question about the answer from Scotty. Hey, just so you know, Scotty Scheffler was asked about the live golfers returning. He said there should be penalties. What those are, he's going to leave it up to other people. But he said, sure, there are golfers in that tour that would bring value to the PGA. Rory, what do you think?
I'd argue, have they brought value to live? I think PGA Tour is in a really good spot.
I'd argue, what value did they bring to live?
I'd argue, have they brought value to live? I think PGA Tour is in a really good spot.
Yeah. Listen, go Devils. I always liked Jon Rahm before he went to live. I think the PGA Tour is making a mistake bringing any of them back. Now, you do have to worry about something. If live dies, it could easily be argued there's an antitrust violation. If the PGA Tour is the lone number one tour in the United States, then you can't restrict somebody from playing in it. However, what's so different about this is the PGA guys resigned and violated the rules of the PGA Tour in order to go play and live on live. So it's a really interesting caveat from a legal standpoint, and I don't have the legal knowledge to know who would win that battle. I can tell you without the resignations or without the rules violations that occurred when these players left. Everybody left by either resigning from the PGA Tour or breaking the rules of the PGA Tour. That's what happened to every player when they went to live. So now that there's only the PGA Tour on the surface, that's a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act whenever you are the lone dog and then you restrict the commerce. You're restricting the goods and services provided by a Bryson DeChambeau by saying you can't play. Well, wait, where else can I go? You're the only tour Therefore, that makes you an illegal monopoly if you are blocking other people from joining. That's dramatically different, however, than when you were on the tour and either resigned or broke the rules. How can you punish the PGA for accepting the resignation and not accepting you back? You resigned. We accepted it. That's that. I don't know. A judge could go either way on that. Well, you accepted the resignation, but now you're the only game in town and he wants to come back. You have to let him back. Figure it out. And another judge might say, yeah, you resigned. You told the PGA you don't want to be there. They don't have to take you back. You're out. That'll be an interesting court battle if they choose to go that way. I don't think they'll go that way. I think that they'll set up a bunch of penalties. I think Jon Rahm will suck it up and accept the penalties. And I don't think Bryson DeChambeau will, and he's going to try to live off of his performances in the majors in order to hold on and keep playing in those tournaments. But I'm fascinated by this. I really am. So this is why I set it up for a long quote from Rory, because since Rory ended that last quote by saying that the PGA is in a good place, somebody asked him, what do you mean by the PGA is in a good place? What should they do with their position? They're now sitting on $1.5 billion with rights fees soon to be coming available. What should they do? What do you want to see them do with that money?
I think they're in a great position because I think that, the emphasis now is on getting people tune into the PGA Tour because they want to see elite competition and they want to see things that are meaningful and things that matter. And I think with the creation of the 2028 schedule and things that the FCC are doing with Brian and the rest of the team, I feel like the weeks will be more meaningful and they will feel like they matter more. And I think also the closer collaboration with the DP World Tour, obviously the Asian Tour has now been brought back into the fold. I think everyone started to work together a little more closely. Yeah, I just think they're in a really good spot. What I'd like to see them do with the $1.5 billion. I've said this to Brian. I've said it to people that work for him, Drew and whoever else. PGA Tour has got an unbelievable marketing platform. They're on TV basically every week of the year. I think if they could spend that money and try to own more of the golf space. You think about the recreational game and how much that's booming. They had to get rid of a tee times business during COVID because the reserves got pretty low because of everything that happened. You go down the path of buying part of a tee times website again. You go down the path of Versant, who I'm involved with, they just bought Full Swing, the tracking company, for $530 million. If another say a TrackMan or a Foresight or whatever came up to buy, being able to put money into that and then plugging it into this unbelievable platform that you have for the PGA Tour and being able to scale it that way. So from a business perspective, there's a lot that they could do with the $1.5 billion. I think they could own more of the golf space, professional and recreational. And now that all the players have equity in the tour, I think that's the way to grow the enterprise value of the business. I think we all know that by the time the media rights cycle comes up in 2030, if Brian gets the same deal as Jay got in 2020, that would probably be a good deal. With the way everything's going in terms of linear TV, streaming, NFL's he's talked about this. NFL's going to take more of the media rights going forward with their deal. So the other sports are really just fighting for the scraps that the NFL leave. So if he can get the same deal that we got in 2020, that would be amazing. So in terms of growing the enterprise value of the business, media rights, sponsorships. Yes, sponsors are going to step up and pay for these championship series events, but that money's going straight back into like the tournaments and honestly the players' pockets. But to actually grow the business and grow the enterprise value, they just need to own more of the game on both sides, professional and recreational.
Going back to your answer about the live players coming back, don't you think it would help to have Bryson, John Rahm, maybe some other player for the next media rights to be able to say all the best players play here?
Eventually, yeah, maybe. But I don't think it's. I mean, like eventually they will. Like if they play the golf and they it's not. I'm pretty sure. I'm not part of these discussions, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to be welcomed back straight away. If they were offered this returning member program back in February, the one that Brooks took, then yeah, maybe. But that has sort of come and gone, and I think it was said at the time that the deal that they might get going forward if they do decide to come back isn't going to be as good as the one that Brooks got. So yeah, I'd say it's going to be a tough road back.
That was all encompassing. I bet you didn't expect it to be 4 minutes long, so sorry that I didn't warn you about that. But I did tell you, if you find this boring, feel free to fast forward or be done today. But I love this battle that's going on. So the four main points of Rory, no matter who you are, whether you like golf or not, I thought that was interesting that he thinks every other sport is going to be looking for scraps after the new NFL deal is done. But he said, we have a great marketing platform because we're on TV all the time. Then said what the PGA needs to do is own recreational golf. I found that very interesting. Like a PGA Tour quality simulator that you put in your house. You're playing almost in PGA Tour tournaments. Could you imagine how cool that would be if you played in a Thursday tournament in your house? So the guys are playing, and I'm making this up, but they're playing at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And you play on Thursday at your house, and your score gets posted, not in a sense on the actual CBS leaderboard, but there's two buttons that you could click. One is the actual tour event, and then the second is the Rec Tour, and the Rec Tour includes Rory, and it includes Scotty, and it includes evil arch rival Zach, who has a good round on a Thursday in his simulator. And then his score is posted right there, and you can beat the pro. That's hilarious. But then you got to play Friday, you got to play Saturday, you got to play Sunday. That would make a killing. And heck, you could even charge to register. You could do all kinds of things. So I loved where he was going with that. And then he drifted into Live that says, hey, these guys can't have the same deal that Brooks got. And, and we'll worry about that later. There's going to be an interesting battle here. I'm really interested in that. I gotta admit. It's time for Come on, Phillies. You're just driving me nuts. So I gave you predictions for Tuesday before I left for Aunt Pat's funeral. And I finished that Tuesday 2-2. Really bummed about the Phillies. Because not only are they on a huge winning streak, but all we needed was a run. We didn't get it. We took Cleveland to cover the 1.5, so we had positive juice with them against the Giants, and we got it. Cleveland won 8-1. We took the Rays on the money line against Toronto and got blitzkrieged. We lose that. We deserve it. Toronto won 10-5. We took the Cardinals on the money line against the Reds. We got it. Cardinals won 3-0. And the one that hurt, that switches a 3-1 to a 2-2. The Phillies, I took them -2.5 so we could get positive juice. instead of taking the minus 110 at minus 1.5 or whatever it was. Phillies won 6-4. They didn't cover the spread that we put out. They covered the run line, but they didn't cover our 2.5. So we go to 2-2 on the day, and that stinks. That stinks. All right, here's what we got today. Today is the travel special. I couldn't believe some of this. Seattle just got destroyed the last couple days by the Cubs, so they're angry. The Phillies are the hottest team in baseball, so they're got to lose at some point. And the schedule gods had the Mariners at home, and they made the Phillies play in Philly yesterday and then fly all the way to Seattle last night. That's not easy. So we'll take Seattle on the money line, and we've got positive juice because Philly fans are all excited about their team. This is a good one to me. Seattle at home against Philly. You got to fade Philly at some point with this winning streak, and doing it after a long trip seems to make sense. I'm going to take Miami on the money line against Boston. It's positive juice. Red Sox were at home against the Giants. They had to fly down to Miami. Miami was already sitting there waiting for them. White Sox on the money line against the Rangers. The Rangers had to fly up to Chicago while the White Sox were already sitting there winning games and beating up on the Mets. Plus, I think the pitching matchup is bad, so we think both teams are going to combine to go over the 8.5, and the White Sox will end up winning. So I like that. That's on the money line. And then think about what's going on for the Reds. The Reds left Arizona and are headed up to San Francisco. They take on the Giants tonight. The Giants were in Boston, and they had to fly from Boston to San Francisco, while the Reds only had to fly from Arizona to San Francisco. And the Reds got to be angry that they lost 2 out of 3 to the D-backs. So I'm going to take the Reds covering the run line of the minus 1.5 against the Giants. So we've got Reds covering, Seattle, Miami, and the White Sox winning, and White Sox and Rangers going over the 8.5. Sound credits today. I got the Tori Lavello from DBACKS.com. I got the Mike LaFleur from 12 News, who was at the game on Saturday and sent me the sound. And I got both golf sound from Rory and from Scotty from the YouTube page of 10 Golf, at 10 Golf, which I get a lot of stuff from them. They're a very good website. And I got the Kenny Dillingham from Sun Devil Source. I think that's it. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Thank you very much again for your understanding and giving me the opportunity to be with my cousins, be with my dad. It's my dad's sister who passed, and my godmother. And I just really appreciate your support. I hated not being here with you in a time that we all needed to be together to give our opinions of Ketel Marte, but at the same time, I appreciate that you understood. The presenting sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged is Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, home of the legendary Whirlwind Plus plan. Nothing is like it anywhere in the city for you to have Whirlwind Plus. And the things that they are doing is incredible. August 23rd, 2-person 9-hole scramble sold out because Whirlwind Plus members know that this is an incredible deal. The next event is a thank you dinner on September 27th. They just buy you dinner. They just feed you at Civlik. And they give out prizes at the thank you dinner. You want in on it? Become a Whirlwind Plus member. If you have any questions, just email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com. Costs $300 for the year, and you save money every time you golf at Whirlwind. It only takes about 3 or 4 times to make your money back just in your tee time fees. Now, that doesn't account for how much you make in a sense by, like, how much is dinner? You get that free. That's what I mean. That's what you get at Whirlwind. It pays for itself. No plan is better in the city than Whirlwind Plus. Just email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com, and I'll give you more info. Bell's Nashville Kitchen is the original sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged. They're located in Old Town Scottsdale on Main Street, just a hair east of Scottsdale Road. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Get $6,000 off right now. A new Ford Mustang during the Labor Day sale. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. This is the last month, the last week of ParkerPaysYourPower.com. Go to ParkerPaysYourPower.com and nominate someone that you know would really benefit from having their power bill paid for. 100 Mile Brewing Company, located in Tempe, home of A Mountain Amber Ale, the best beer in the history of the state. Penny Royal Promotions, slap a logo on anything. Anything you see with a logo, Penny Royal Promotions can take care of it for you to promote your business. Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, inspiring fitness and changing lives every day. Great workouts, great environment, great coaches. Trophy, Wendy's, home of Biggie Bite, Biggie Bag, Biggie Bundle. And Slice House by Tony Gemignani. How about that, Al? First day back, and I nailed it.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.